try to pay attention to the voices of the show, know the show, watch every episode. When we were hired on King of the Hill, I'd watched King of the Hill, but I hadn't seen everything. But I methodically started plowing through hundreds of episodes at that point. I think maybe 200 episodes had happened by the time we joined it. So, and that's just kind of an education, and you internalize the voices of the characters, and it helps you know what to pitch.
You're listening to Screenwriters Need to Hear This with Michael Jamin. Hey everyone, welcome to Screenwriters Need to Hear This. I'm Michael Jamin, and I got another special guest today. This is my old friend. This is my friend Greg Thompson, and I'm going to give you a proper introduction, Greg. So sit down, just relax. Let me just talk to the people for a second. So Greg is a very successful TV writer, and he started on a show called Bunk Bread Brothers. We're going to run through some of the credits that maybe no one have heard of. Bunk Bread Brothers, then Fired Up, which was interesting. This was in the heyday of NBC. This was when the main character, she lived inside of a clock. She was a church mouse, wasn't she, Greg?
Yeah, she was a church mouse. And then who is it? Second season, she moved into a shoe. It was Sharon Lawrence with Leah Remini.
Sharon Lawrence with Leah Remini. This was back in the heyday of NBC shows, like must-see TV. And then a show called, I'm going to run through some of your credits. Maggie, Big Wolf on Campus. Then one of your bigger credits, Third Rock from the Sun. Great show. Then Grounded for Life, another great show. Everyone Hates Chris. Everybody Hates Chris. Everybody Hates Chris. Another great show. I'm in Hell. We're going to talk about that. King of the Hill. You were there for many years. Glenn Martin, D.D.S. I never heard of that one, but I was involved in it. Then now, most recently, you were a writer. What are you, co-executive producer on Bob's Burgers? So
I'm down to consulting producer. Technically, I was co-exec. I was actually executive. I was actually executive producer to be most technical. Well, yeah, we all got promoted up to executive producer after a certain.
And what happened? Why did you get bounced down to co-exec? I mean, a consulting producer.
I decided to work fewer days a week. So do you still want me on the show?
Yeah, now I'm jealous of you. How many days a week are you working?
I only work 2 days.
Oh, and of those 2 days, how many days are you really working?
I don't know. Probably 4, because it filters into other days, and
yeah, it does.
And also, yeah,
we're going to talk about that, but I want to get into the beginning, Greg, because so we met in the Warner Brothers Writers Program, Writers Workshop, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, we did.
And you and your partner Aaron Abrams were supposed to be the competition that me and Sievert were facing, and very quickly we realized we weren't gonna make good enemies. Friends in love. But I got to say, Greg, you've always been, and I know I've probably never said this to you personally, but it may seem odd since we don't talk that often, but you were definitely one of my closest friends in the industry, because I always feel like I feel like we're not in competition. I can confide in you to tell you what's going on with my career. I never feel like I'm going to get stabbed in the back. You always got my back. I got your back. So you've always been a great friend. And that's why, as I thank you for doing the show and helping everyone telling your story.
You're very welcome. And of course it's mutual. And I'll just say at the the writers Warner Brothers Writers Workshop, I was so intimidated by you and Sievert. We were seated in kind of a big O, and you guys were like across the room, and you already had a credit. You had a credit on Lois and Clark, which was incredibly impressive. We didn't have credits.
What? That's what you were intimidated, because there was no other reason to be intimidated by us. We never said anything.
I don't know. You looked the right part. Sievert had this kind of scowl on his face all the time, which was very untrue to his personality, but he just looked super serious, like he was figuring it all out.
Turns out neither of us. It was a prestigious program, and it didn't help either of us. It didn't help. It definitely didn't help you, did it? Other than
it did. It did get us. It did lead us to an agent, which then led us to our first job. So it actually did help us, even though the Warner Brothers, the studio, was not interested in hiring us.
Right.
After watching us work.
as I tell our audience to catch them up. So we worked together. So we never worked together. We became friends on that. And then later we shared a bungalow. We both had overall deals at CBS Radford. And so we shared a bungalow. We'd have lunch together. Maybe we'd hang out in your office and just talk about ideas, bounce off each other. That having an overall deal is great.
That was
and
fun.
then later, it was King of the Hill was before that. We did
King of the Hill was before
that, right? And then later, Radford, our overall deal. And then later, we hired you guys on Glenn Martin, and you guys saved our butts. You and your partner Aaron saved our butts. And then, how did I thank you? I almost thanked you by destroying your career. I remember you guys came in. It was season 2, right, of Glenn Martin?
Yeah, season 2. Yeah,
we brought you in. We had the money. We wanted seasoned writers, and you guys came in. You always delivered great drafts, which is, I always say, this is all you want from a writer. Can you turn in a good draft? And you guys always did. And then there was talk of spinning off Glenn Martin to a spinoff. And I remember we were like, hey, we'll do this show, and then you could run the other show, or which one or the other. You guys could run, and you're like, yeah, we got this other offer to go to this cartoon called Bob's Burgers. You don't want to go to Bob's Burgers. You want to stay here. And thank God you took that offer, because I would have felt terrible, like ruining your career, because the spinoff never happened. And then Glenn Martin was canceled. You jumped off just in time to go to.
There was an idea that Glenn Martin was going to jump to Fox or something, and
there was a lot of lies floating through.
Yeah, it was probably Michael Eisner was planning these thoughts.
Right, I forgot. They were talking about taking us to Fox. Fox had no knowledge of that. They weren't in on that.
But I think we all thought the puppet animation genre was going to explode, and I have to say, it's really funny. It's still, when I look at, I've dug up some old Glenn Martins. It is really funny. I mean, it was an underrated show, underwatched certainly, but also underrated.
Yeah. We did some good stuff. You guys wrote some great episodes. But then, so you got the offer because Bob's Burgers was co-created by Jim Dotrieve, who we both worked with on King of the Hill. So he reached out to you guys. How did this Bob Burgers come about? And why didn't he reach out to us?
Probably you were working. You were busy.
We were busy.
Developed by Jim Dotrieve. I should make sure I say that properly. Created by Lauren Bouchard. Developed by Jim Dotrieve. Yeah, he was just staffing up, and actually he had hired 2 other guys before us, and then they're and gosh, I'm blanking on their names. Sorry. But they had a pilot going, and their pilot got picked up to production, so they had to drop out of Bob's Burgers, and then that opened up a slot, and Jim called us to come interview for it, and we saw and you guys let us out of our Glenn Martin deal early. By the way, you did us a favor that not everybody would have done.
That is true. Now, some people wouldn't, but I think most.
I think most would. Good people would.
Good people would let you out of contract. And so, how many? That was 2008. You've been on that? No.
That was 2010. We went over there. I think we went over to Glenn Martin. We were there for actually second half of the first season through most of the second season.
Oh, that's what it was.
Glenn Martin. Yeah. So I think we wrote.
It's amazing how long you've been on Bob's Burgers. It's crazy. Like that's job security. Yeah,
I was thinking. Yeah, it's over 12 years now, and I'm wearing the first piece of swag we ever got on Bob's. I don't know if it's visible on camera or not. This old hoodie, which is now just in tatters. It's 12 years old and.
Is it hard coming up with stories for 12 years?
Yes, very hard. Also because unlike The Simpsons, which is kind of branched off into the peripheral characters, they'll do an episode about Apu or whatever they used to anyway. Bob's stays with the family.
Right. And do you? How does the musical numbers work? How do you guys produce? How do you write and produce that?
Lauren is extremely musical. Lauren Bouchard, very musical, so he always had a big interest in that, and he can write and play. And then there are musical people, on the show who
Writing the lyrics for that? Do you write into the script or what?
well, we do, yeah. Most of the writers will write some lyrics. I've written some lyrics, and that's don't write the music.
Interesting.
Occasionally, you might like take a stab at a tune for something silly, but yeah, and that's
So
like
you
yeah,
you
and that's like
you
fun.
royalties for the music as well then.
You do like we're like members of ASCAP or BMI or something,
Yeah.
and yeah, there's actually been two Bob's Burgers record albums that have come out
I didn't
on
know
Sub
that.
Pop.
Were you involved with the movie as well though?
Yeah, I mean, to a limited degree, the movie was really written by Lauren and Nora Smith, who's also the his number two. She's also a showrunner. Um, and then
Right.
but all the other writers pitched in on story and jokes, and we looked at lots of cuts, and so we were part of it. We have credit, but they did the heavy lifting for sure.
And you're kind of like the last Writers Guild of America cartoon, one of the last, right? I mean, you're covered by the Writers Guild, right? It's not ASCAP. I mean, not
Yeah. It's a yeah
IOTS.
it's a Writers Guild show. Yeah, and I guess like I don't know, not to tell tales out of school. I think Disney is still trying to put shows on the air on Disney now owns 20th Century Fox Television. Still trying to get IATSE covered shows, which that's a guild with fewer benefits for your
I'm
viewers.
told it's a non-starter now. It's like it's IOTS. It's the animation.
Oh, is it
Guild.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
things are tough.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
How did you? You didn't start. What was your career for people who are listening? What was your career before you got into writing? We'll start from the beginning.
Oh boy.
The year was 1948.
I was 12. The
That was
the I would just say in brief that like I always loved television growing up. I loved movies and television, and I became a writing major in college, a creative writing major, which wasn't a good idea. But in all that time, it never occurred to me that there were people that wrote television. I never looked at the credits, and so it never occurred to me that there would be a career doing screenwriting. And so after I got out of college, I moved to New York, and I got into book publishing and worked in marketing for a few different publishers, book and magazine publishing. And that was my career. That was what I was doing. I was going to be kind of a business person, and I wore a suit, took the subway. And then I went to business school to get an MBA, thinking, well, that's the next step of my tremendous business career. And that brought me out to LA afterwards to work at the LA Times. And Aaron Abrams, who you mentioned before, my friend, had split up with his wife. He'd moved out to LA to be a screenwriter, and then his marriage had blown up. So he had an empty bedroom, and I moved in with him to begin my job at the LA Times. And Aaron was trying to be a screenwriter.
and wait,
so for the
from college.
Yeah, we did an equivalent of the we did a little summer school publishing boot camp kind of thing. One summer after college, like a 6-week program, a little like the sitcom writing workshop in a way, but for people interested in publishing. And so just like a summer school thing. So I met him doing that. We hit it off. We had kind of this instant rapport. And I thought he was hilarious and everything. And so I wasn't surprised when he eventually decided that he was going to try to be a screenwriter. So then I move into his terrible, messy apartment. And I see like he's got a bunch of scripts. I'd never seen a script before. It was pre-internet. You couldn't like download scripts. It's like, oh wow, this is weird. So that led me to reading scripts, talking to Aaron about what he was doing. He very generously would ask me to read things he was working on and ask if I had any ideas or thoughts. And 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 then Aaron suggested we were having some conversation about the actually the NFL players strike of the '80s, and he said I always thought that would be an interesting movie. Um, so then he said, "Do you want to try to write a movie about that with me?" So together we basically hammered out
Right.
this comedy that did not become was it a Keanu Reeves movie, but was The Replacements. Ours was called Substitute Heroes, and it was much like The Replacements, and that was the first thing we wrote together, and that ended up we ended up selling that for a guild minimum to someplace.
Hey, it's Michael Jamin. If you like my videos and you want me to email them to you for free, join my watch list. Every Friday, I send out my top 3 videos. These are for writers, actors, creative types. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. I'm not going to spam you, and it's absolutely free. Just go to michaeljamin.com/watchlist.
That Substitute Heroes.
Where did you sell it?
Football comedy.
Yeah. Where did you want?
And it ended up selling to like some producers for guild minimum, low budget minimum, which was I think like $26,000 or something like that, or maybe more.
Right.
But that was it. Obviously that would be thrilling even now to sell a movie for a little bit of money. So it was very thrilling to me and Aaron. And so and then at the same time, like I'm working my LA Times job, and I wasn't enjoying that a ton. I was in like this, I don't know, weird little group called Market Planning, and we'd do these like analyses of like Orange County advertising market and stuff that no one would ever look at. And the LA Times was a place, I'll always remember this. They would do Casual Friday one day a month. So you had to remember what Friday. Remember casual? That was before we're casual all the time.
Yeah, right.
So you had to remember what Friday of the month was Casual Friday, so you could not wear your suit. And then for our Christmas party, we had an annual Christmas party. You'd have to come in an hour early that morning, and the Christmas party would be like between the hours of 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. or 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. I forget when work started. At least in my department.
You have to get up for your party. Some party.
It wasn't. Yeah.
No,
it wasn't. It wasn't festive. So it was that. It was that kind of place. So meanwhile, then I'm like, thinking, oh well, this screenwriting thing's working out great. I'll do that instead. And I think like. We were getting a lot of meetings, and I think in Hollywood, like a meeting sounds exciting. Yeah. It'll almost inevitably lead to nothing. But still, for a moment, you feel like, you're driving on a lot, you have a pass, they're waiting for you, you sit down, someone brings you out water, you feel important. And it's the people you're meeting with are almost always just filling their schedule to feel important. Yes. So you go in there, and together all of you feel important. And then you leave.
You've listened to my podcast because I've said these words many times.
Oh, have I?
Yes. You feel important. But go on. All right. Then what happened?
So then I remember Aaron was like, he had this, he played like beach volleyball in this like league or something like that, even though he was terrible. But
that part, I don't believe that part of the story. But
well, I'll say he was on a beach volleyball team. Whether you could describe it as playing, I don't know. But I think he was trying to meet girls, and so but there were a couple like TV writers in the beach volleyball group, and he said these guys are all doing great. They all have like big houses. They're so successful. We should let's forget movies. Let's try to write television. So we started working on some spec scripts, as I'm sure you've probably talked about that at different times, and we wrote an Ellen. And a spec is your sample to get hired onto a show. We wrote an Ellen that I thought was great. That I still remember what it was about. It was about Ellen dates her assertiveness instructor and then can't break up with him because she's not assertive enough. which,
It's funny.
well, well, for one thing, I don't know if there is such a thing as an assertiveness instructor. I think
I
it
don't
felt
know.
right to us in 1994 or so.
Right.
But but we thought, okay, we've nailed it. We've written one spec. Now our career will begin in television, and everybody hated it. And I mean, you've probably experienced this, or people experienced people who felt this way. They fall in love with their spec. They think their spec is great. It's really the first spec they've written, and they become very, very attached to it. Not attached to every part of it, every element. They're not
Yeah.
receptive to notes, and I think I was certainly that way about this one. But the feedback was so uniformly negative. It was like, okay, well, let's. I think we have to write another one. So we wrote
Uh-huh.
A Larry Sanders spec, which went much better. It was just a much better show for us. It was
Right.
more in our sensibility. It was so. Uh, that's the one that we ended up using to get into the Warner Brothers sitcom writing
And then
workshop.
yeah, and that was the rest. Now, Aaron Abrams was this. We were both friends. He's one of the sweetest guys you ever met, and then he tragically died halfway through your career. And then I remember, I mean, it was just awful. But I remember either calling you or writing to you, and I was like, "Listen," because you had to reinvent your career at that point. You had a writing partner that you relied on, and you bounced things off, and then you had to become a solo writer. And I remember reaching out to you saying, "Listen, if you want to if you might need to write new samples if you want help breaking a story or anything, like just call me or receiver. Well, happy, but you never did. What was
Yeah,
that like?
I re- I remember I do remember that, and I'm still grateful for that. But you and Sievert both reached out and were terrific during that time. It was it was fortunate for me that I was on
Right.
Bob's Burgers. We had done Aaron and I had done a season on Bob's, so it hadn't even aired yet. But it was. I'm trying to think when it got its season two order. I guess it didn't get that till it had aired for a few weeks. Once Bob's began airing and the show got picked up for another season, which was a little nip and tuck because the ratings were a little
Right.
iffy, or touch and go rather. Lauren and Jim offered me, you know, the opportunity to come back as a solo writer. So I did not have to produce those other specs. I did have to write a pilot that Aaron and I had been
Oh,
contracted to
really?
write. So I did have to finish the pilot. We'd outlined it, but we hadn't written it yet, and I had to write it.
But when you
That was the first thing I
and
wrote.
was it like even now? Do you hear his voice? Like, do you think, oh, what would Aaron do here? Or are you like, no, this is, are you,
Yeah, no, I still totally do. I mean, he's such a funny guy, and it was, I used to say like, the unfortunately the funny person of the writing team died, so
true?
the the guy who's like does little, I don't even know what my specialty was, kind of doing things Aaron did, but a little less well probably. Uh, and but yeah, no, sometimes if I'm writing and if a joke will occur to me and I'll think that is an Aaron kind of joke,
Right.
that's his sensibility. So as much as I can channel Aaron's voice, I try to. He was just a unique voice.
'Cause I imagine it'd be, for honestly, it'd be a little paralyzing that first, at least the first couple of scripts. You're like, I'm flying solo here.
Yeah. Uh, and I don't know how it is with you and Sievert. I think you do work separately at times. I know, but everything Aaron and I had written, we'd written together in the same room. We might go off and work on a scene by ourselves for a while and then share it, but mostly it was like kind of taking turns at a keyboard while the other guy was there in the room,
Yeah.
looking over the shoulder. So it was a pretty close writing situation. So yeah, I I would do a couple tricks of I remember when I was writing the pilot, it was like, okay, I'm going to write the scenes that I think are easier to write first.
Uh-huh.
And so I wrote scenes out of order just to make progress.
Right.
Uh, and so then when you make a little progress, you begin to feel better, you begin to feel more confident. Um,
Right.
and I also, and I still do this, I'll write a scene maybe with some of the dialogue in all caps, which is my way of saying this is not the dialogue. This
Right.
is an approximation of what has to be said here in this moment,
Right.
just to get through it, just to get through it, so I don't get stuck.
Yeah.
Uh, because yeah, I mean, Aaron and I, we would try to do as little rewriting as possible, just maybe out of laziness. So we would kind of get a lot of consensus on everything before we wrote, uh, or as as we worked our way down the page. But as a solo writer, I just couldn't do that. It was like, nope, I'm going to have to do more revisions. I'll have to do more passes.
Hmm.
So that's what I started doing.
And now, does it just feel comfortable on your own, or it's just interesting.
I I know it does and it doesn't. It always feels a little like right now I'm trying to come up with story ideas to write one and looking at the calendar and looking at how much time I have and I think, oh God, am I gonna have enough time to break it? And uh,
Yeah.
holidays are coming up. That's gonna cut into time. So
But
I always have a little bit of panic, and I think I'm known for this on the show of being fairly neurotic about scripts,
uh
worried I won't put it together because there's so many Michael, there's so many jokes in a script. It's like several hundred by the time you're done,
yeah,
and it's like, oh, how will I think of all those jokes?
that's the part that's intimidating to me. It's the getting the story
Well,
down.
yeah, no, I mean the story's obviously the most important part, but every element is hard, and so it.
What no? How much? Like, how is it run? How is it differently working on Bob's Burgers than it was either a Glen Martin or King of the Hill for you? The process.
I'd say Bob's Burgers. It's much more. You kind of become your own little executive producer of your episode all the way through production. And basically, most of the times you will be coming up with the idea of your episode. You will be pitching it. You will be running the room uh,
Hmm.
as put break the story.
Hmm.
Then you're updating. Lauren and Laura, the showrunners, but it's kind of on you. It's not like, and there will be people breaking stories simultaneously, which I guess was what we had at King of the Hill too. A few small rooms. But it isn't like probably most of television today still where it's everybody around a table, the whole staff breaking one story at a time
Right.
with, walking through the beats on a board, kind of assembling it all, everybody, the staff, everybody together. It's more individual. We kind of have more rope to, make magic or get in trouble on
And now
Bob's.
you're consulting, which is so interesting. Just a couple of days a week. Um, yeah. Well, how's that for you working out? Everyone
I
talks
mean,
about, oh, it's
it's
perfect, but no.
simultaneous with COVID, so it's hard to separate the two in a
Uh,
way. So so far it's been people are beginning to come back to the office, but for the last 2.5 years it's been all Zoom.
yeah.
Uh, and I would say like if I didn't have to like write scripts occasionally, it would be it would be so easy. I mean,
Yeah.
not
Right.
easy, but it's always like you know if you could sit back and give people pitches on their episode all day and it's like, well, here's my idea. If it works, terrific. If it doesn't work, well, it's
For
not
sure.
my problem.
It's
I
not
mean,
my
it is,
problem.
but
Do you think you'll stay there for a while longer? What do you do? What are your plans? Do you have any?
I, I'm just kind of taking it year by year. The We'll see. Um, I don't know. It's
And
still been a fun thing, and most of the staff is the same staff as when we first grouped up 12 years ago.
no one's leaving. Back when we started, um, we you could jump shows. You might work on a show for a couple of years, then jump to another show. But now with the market, you'd be crazy to leave any show. If you're on a show, you stay there and you hang on for dear life.
I think so. I think so. I think that's been true of Bob's, and Wendy and Lizzie Molyneux, two of really very funny writers on Bob's. They left only because they developed their own show, The Great
Right.
North. So, but despite that, they still have a hand in Bob's and write an episode a year. So nobody really wants to let go of Bob's.
Yeah. And then, yeah, are you developing at all? Have you tried to develop in the recent years, or
I past the first year, no, I haven't. I haven't tried to develop, and that's, I have to say that's a little bit of laziness on my part. Like, why do I want to develop myself out of a job, this great job, on
Yeah,
Bob's?
yeah,
And also it was like, we Aaron and I think did like 8 or 9 pilots, only one produced, but it was
right.
always really hard and a distressing experience. We'd go in full of ambition and hopes and dreams of how this next pilot was going to be great, and then you'd get so ground down by the process, we'd be miserable
So
and hate our pilot by the end of it.
people don't under they have really no understanding of how the industry actually works. That's what I'm trying to educate them. But like we say the same things. Like if we were on full time on staff, we wouldn't have to develop. We wouldn't run out to develop. It's only because the orders are so much shorter that you kind of have to if you want to make a
Yeah,
living. You got to sell it. You got
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
but
yeah, and yeah.
the burning
Television's
desire. Yeah,
changed in
it's
that way.
changed.
So so I'm a little embarrassed. I haven't tried to develop in the last decade, but I don't know.
I'm just so what advice do you have? I mean, are you bringing on any young writers, or what advice do you have when you see a young writer join the show?
Uh, well, boy, I don't know. I guess it would be the advice I'd give any young writer. Just try to pay attention to the voices of the show, know the show, watch every episode.
Yeah,
When we were hired on King of the Hill, I'd watched King of the Hill, but I hadn't seen everything. But
hmm
I methodically started plowing through hundreds of episodes at that point. I think maybe 200
yeah,
episodes had happened by the time we joined it. So, and that's just kind of an education, and you internalize the voices of the characters, and it helps you know what to pitch. So obviously, like, a new writer will often like pitch an episode idea that we've kind of already done,
mm,
and it's hard to catch up with everything, but you have to try,
right.
and then
And
just, I
yeah,
guess, trust that you're there for a reason and that your ideas are good, and do your best.
right. But it's a pretty supportive environment there. It sounds like I know
Oh,
people aren't
it's
complaining about.
it's great. Yeah, no, it's really a nice group of people. You've been on many staffs, and I was on many staffs, and I think my experience was almost always good. I hope
Uh-huh.
yours was too. But I think we probably all had both had the experience of being in a room where you're around a table, same table every day. You're not only that, but you're seated in the same seat every day.
hmm
Same person to the left, same person to the right, and sometimes there will be people who will make a point of only laughing at somebody several people's pitches, but never several other people's pitches. Trying
Interesting.
to,
Right.
yeah, I mean, um, and it is a little bit of a, and this is, it was rare to have this experience, but maybe did once or twice. Um, Writers are trying to get their jokes in. Uh, they would rather have their joke in than a funnier joke from somebody else. So
Right.
there is that bit of competition. And I'm not saying I would have the funnier joke that no one would want in or anything like that, but it's this natural selfishness, self-preservation, I guess,
Yeah.
of like,
Right.
I must I must have a certain number of jokes in the episode, or I'm not earning my morsel of meat.
Yeah.
today.
Right.
So there, there is a competitiveness, and I think some shows, very can be bad, miserable places. Um, Bob's was a fantastic place. Everybody was
Right.
great. Everybody was supportive. Everybody was funny. Everybody is funny. So many great writers. So it's been a fantastic
And
situation.
how? And you say you're involved heavily in the production, so you'll watch the animatics, you'll give notes on the air, or do you watch all the animatics, or just the ones you produce?
We watch all the animatics and colors, but the animatic, for your own episode, you will be, you know, more involved in notes and
And are you
revisions
so just for people?
and the
The
rewrite.
animatics are the rough, before they're like crude sketches of the cartoon, the animation, and you give notes on that, and then it's more like for blocking, which what the character should do and what kind of shot you have, and then later they color it in, and that's then you give notes on that as well. But are you also at the record? Are you recording the actors?
Yeah, yeah, and we've done that a few different ways. In the beginning of the show, it was the Bob's was unique in this, in that you'd have multiple actors in, you know, on on mic at the same time, and it would be a simultaneous recording. So you'd have overlap
Mm-hmm.
and improv, and that was kind of a hallmark of Bob's. And then as COVID happened, we had to kind of break that apart, and actors were recording in their homes, and so we were getting them one at a
Right.
time. And so now it's kind of a little combination of
But are you
both
directing
in a
the
way.
actors yourselves, or is someone else, one of the showrunners, directing?
Lauren was the director for like the first 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
every episode. And then during COVID, we began to direct our own
Right.
episodes. But now we're actually in the process of having one writer direct all the episodes, with a writer producer will direct all of them. And just so there's kind of a unified voice coming from the directing
Right.
booth. And then the writer is also there to give notes and
Right. Roll
suggestions.
their eyes. You're doing it wrong.
Yeah, say no, that's not how it goes. So, so yeah, and I'd say Lauren is kind of constantly tinkering with the process, trying to improve it. Even after like 12 years, you think things would be okay. This is how we do it. This is how we'll always do it. But no, it's still being aspects of production are being reinvented and tinkered with all the time,
It
and
really is
that's
a
one of
great
them.
show because it has such a sweetness to it, such an earnestness to. Who knew? Who knew it was going to be such a giant?
It does. It does. And I know early on, like, um, Aaron and I would pitch, coming from well, I guess working on every other show, we pitched a lot of like stories that involved conflict between the family. That was a little maybe sharper than Lauren wanted to
Yeah.
do. He didn't want, his thing is he doesn't ever want the characters being mean to
Right.
each other, anything perceived as mean. And so, like, oh, if you're watching most sitcoms, it's like, oh, I don't know, everybody does this all the time.
You know what though?
But he wanted something sweeter.
And it's a good instinct. When we worked for Chris Lloyd, who he ran Frasier for many years, and then later on we worked for Manetta Practice. He used to say the same things. He would say velvet gloves. So when the characters slapped each other, they had to be wearing velvet gloves. So you never want to hit too hard, never want
Mm.
to insult too hard. I was like, oh, that's smart. I'll start using that word.
I won't do it, but I'll use the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, and certainly, like, one thing with the internet, now you can see what everybody thinks of every episode, on
And
Reddit
do you
and
guys do that?
Twitter.
Do you go?
Yeah, yeah, for
Does that
sure.
change the way you write future episodes?
I think a little. Like, we did an episode once where the family was on a game show, which is kind of an unusual episode for us. It was pretty early, and they end up kind of getting cheated out of their prize at the end of the game show. It's kind of they're kind of ripped off,
Mm-hmm.
and the ending, we thought, no, it's a great ending. It's perfect. It's funny. It's television. Viewers hated the Belchers, that had happened to the Belchers, that they'd been it felt like an unsatisfying ending to many, many, many viewers, and they would keep bringing it up. In fact, they still bring it up online as an episode ending they don't
Uh-huh.
like. And I think maybe because it was an unearned, they hadn't really done anything wrong, and they ended up
Screwed.
being kind of robbed. So I think we try to avoid lessons where they or episodes where they just have complete egg on their face by
Right.
the end. There has to be some kind of little victory or something learned, something positive
Right.
that comes out of it.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting you take that view because I never Sievert kind of does. I'm really kind of I stay away from. I don't want to hear about the reviews. I don't want to hear about what the viewers think. I just want to do my thing and cross my fingers. But it's it's different.
I mean, that's probably healthier, but if it's an episode that I wrote that's airing, I just devour Twitter,
Do you really?
trying to. Oh yeah, no, I definitely try to cherry pick any positive comment.
We went on. Geez, this is about a year ago. Sievert and I went on. I don't know whenever. We went on YouTube to like see what people were saying about Glenn Martin. We hadn't watched the show in years, and then there's some guy from his basement, some young guy talking about the show, and he nailed it. He was as if he was in the writers' room, like he understood the show better than we did, and it was just hilarious to hear him take it apart. I was like, man, this guy.
I think did you send that around? Did you send that around to the writers? I kind of remember reading something that I thought, yeah, this guy's
This
good.
guy's he was like a spy. He knew so much. So funny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But it was a funny show. Does that air? I mean, does that? How does that? As a quick
Yeah.
aside, is Glenn Martin accessible on any platform?
I think it's on YouTube where you can watch it all for free. So we don't get any money. I mean, we have some points in it. We don't get any
Okay,
of it. I don't think you make money by showing
but it's
for free.
did some kid upload it, or is it
They're
like
all
this? Whoever owns it put it on
Michael
there.
Eisner there as a hope. Like maybe if we get
Okay.
enough views, like he can sell it again somewhere. I'm like, yeah, sell it somewhere. Let's bring it back. But I don't think we put to bring it back. I can't we reboot Glenn Martin? I don't think there's anything there. Oh, that's funny.
Oh, it's
Well,
uh
Greg, is there anything you want to plug? Do you want to talk about your next season? Should people follow you anywhere? Is there anything you want to get off your chest before I?
Oh well, God, I'm not really on Twitter. No, I mean I can't. I'm unfollowable on social media because, um, I don't know. Just I guess keep watching. I kind of forget where we are production wise. I never know what episode's about
Yeah.
to air because, as you know, the production schedule in animation is very long. It's almost a
So
year.
without 9 months,
So
with you guys, it's almost a year.
well, it can be, so if especially if or the order
Right.
changes and
How many episodes do you got?
after production, but it's a long time.
What is your order this year? Like 22?
I think it's 22. I think it's yeah. Bob's is one of the last shows that still gets a 22 order, and it does less so now, but it did repeat a lot too.
Right.
So there was residuals
Is it?
involved. So,
I'm
but
glad that
yeah,
Glenn
no,
Martin
it's
has worked
fortunate.
out. I mean,
Um, no, let's see what I would merely plug your
yeah, listen to my
podcast.
people
And
listen to my podcast. All right, everyone.
are you still doing the videos? Is
What?
Oh, I was just asking if you're doing the video podcast things
Yeah,
as
these will
well still.
air. Yeah, they'll be on YouTube as well, and we run clips across the media, so
Okay,
people can they can get it everywhere. They can continue following.
okay, it's
But
all part of
yeah,
that.
so but that's yeah. This has been fascinating hearing your story as far as I'm concerned. But but
Oh,
Greg, thank you for
well, thank you. I hope.
you're a good dude.
Thank you for having me, Michael. I'm a huge fan of yours, and yeah, honored.
Oh God, this is my honor. But all right, everybody, thank you so much to great comic comedian writer Greg Thompson, and yeah. So what? Let me tell you what else is going on over here. So if you guys want to sign up for my watch list, that's my free newsletter where I send out daily tips for screenwriters and creative types at michaeljamin.com/watchlist. And keep following us here. And yeah, we have different content on YouTube. Our YouTube's at Michael Jamin Writer. And Instagram, keep following me on Instagram and TikTok at Michael Jamin Writer. All right, everyone. Thank you so much, Greg. Thank you. Until next week for more people. All right. Be good.
This has been an episode of Screenwriters Need to Hear This with Michael Jamin and Phil Hudson. If you'd like to support this podcast, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing this podcast with someone who needs to hear today's subject. For free daily screenwriting tips, follow Michael on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Michael Jamin Writer. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Phil A. Hudson. This episode was produced by Phil Hudson and edited by Dallas Crane. Until next time, keep writing.